Look at this, the 30 best Katy Perry quotes.
Good morning, slingers.
Good morning.
We're in the middle of a debate.
We're in the middle of a hot debate.
Natalie thinks that the quote, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, is from Katy Perry.
Well, okay, no, I know she didn't invent the quote. She just regurgitated it in a song.
Find the song. Just to be clear, it is Alexander Hamilton who said, "Those who stand for nothing fall for anything."
It's a great quote.
It's a great
Flash
quote.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
Whoever you want to attribute it to.
Is it Roar? The song Roar?
Is it?
Oh, I don't know.
I have to
Those who
say I'm
stand
not
for-
up to date with my Katy Perry lyrics, so I'm probably going to be not good on this one. Like, my wife's much better with that one with her. Like, no, it's not my forte.
You guys, I used to really hate Katy Perry. And then when she was on, and then I watched one season of American Idol that she was on, and I started to like her. And now I like her.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
She was on American Idol? I thought she was on The Voice show.
No,
I
she's on
found her-
American Idol.
I found a Reddit thread
Oh,
that
okay.
has the quote, and people are like responding to it. Somebody says, "Indeed." Another person says, "So not Katy Perry."
I think that
Okay,
might
so I'm
is
not
the
crazy.
username Natalie?
They must know. Anyway,
I'm not crazy.
we'll have to find
That'd
the
be
song.
amazing if it was the user for that one was Natalie H. Like, what the?
Natalie on Twitter 10 years ago.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the quote, and for some reason, this article keeps popping up. Sketchy things about Katy Perry that everyone ignores. I
Has
don't
she
think I'll read
copied
it.
this
I don't.
quote?
I don't think I want to know. I'd rather just live in my bliss.
Oh, what was the even worse version of that was when wasn't it Rachel Hollis quoted like Maya Angelou and put her
Yes.
name and didn't accredit Maya Angelou.
It was like Rachel Hollis.
Yeah. It was like, but still I rise.
Yeah.
It's like Rachel Hollis. It's like, no. That's not the quote.
Yes, that's awesome.
Anyway, so guys, it's a red day on Wall Street.
I know, right? And it's been a
It's
little.
a
I want to.
red
You want to say
wedding.
you want to say a roller coaster, but it has been not really roller coaster. It's just been like little. Like if it's a roller coaster, it's been going down a lot more than the up, and you kind of need some of the ups to make the downs more fun. But it's not really fun when the stock market goes down, unless you're trying to buy, which then it's very fun because I mean,
Yeah, probably
like
a good time
what
to
is the old
buy.
adage? It's like, sell when you're happy, buy when you're scared, right? And that's like what it is. So
yeah.
I mean, I always look at it that way. And in the long run, for me, like I never get scared at all when this kind of stuff happens because it's like this is. I mean, if you just look historically, things like this always happen. I mean, honestly, we haven't had a pretty decent downturn since COVID, and that was a weird one just because it was such an anomaly, of what happened there. So I mean, this is a more gradual, logical one, if that makes sense. So it's like I remember after like COVID happened, everyone was like, "We're gonna have a recession. We're gonna have a recession." Like 3 years later, we're gonna have a recession. And like everyone kept saying that, and it's like things just kept going up. So I mean, I feel like at some point in time, you need a correction, and it's called the correction for a reason because it's
Right.
correcting. And like a little bit of the craziness that's happened. So I mean, I think it's really easy to get caught up in the hubbub of just being, oh my gosh, this is going down. That's just like, all right, well, what's going to happen in those 6 months? Is it going to start? Everything's going to be bad. I mean, get better from being, quote unquote bad. I mean, I just think that we have such short term thinking across the board for everything that it's easy and it's fun, especially from news across the board, is to be like panic, Chicken Little, the sky's falling. It's just like, but this isn't abnormal, man. This happens. So
Well, it was
it's easy. Go on.
nope. Sorry.
Know what we're saying?
I'm just saying that we have the tariff potentially. That would be, let's see here, today is the 21st, so that would be the following, so not next week, but the following week, when that
April
would happen.
2nd? Is that when that is?
Potentially, yes. And the Federal Reserve did not increase interest rates, I guess.
Mhm.
Maybe whatever that decision was also
Not
impacted
yet.
stock markets today. Yeah, not yet. But Natalie's boy, Jerome Powell, said there's many things we don't know at a press conference Wednesday, and uncertainty is remarkably high. And what is
It's
known about
always
tariffs?
remarkably high. Is
What
there
is known about
ever a
tariffs?
period like in time where people are like, guys, everything's
Yeah.
cool. I know what the stock market's gonna do. I know, like,
No, no, because I think people go crazy when consumer confidence is super high. It's like a different level of uncertainty. It's like I'll
when's
pay
the bubble
I'll
gonna
pay
burst?
Mhm.
$100,000 over asking price for that. Like people turn evil as well during that time. So
To Trent's point, it's like it's constantly and it's everywhere. And it's like, remember when rates were super low and everyone was like, quick, buy a house, rates are gonna go up. And rates were low for like 5 years or something crazy. But every time it was like, oh, you got better get in. You better get in the market
better
while you
get in.
can.
Yeah.
It's just this constant pressure and fear. And honestly, I think it's a skill to figure out how to like weed out the noise and focus on what matters. Like it is so challenging. And if you watch the news every day, the media sensationalizes literally everything,
Mhm.
literally. And it's just like if you get behind the actual story, I honestly prefer to read the news than to hear it because then my brain can decide like if you hear it, there's just so much more like pressure or something. I don't know what it
You
is,
should
but
And I always click
motion
through
too.
like, okay, where did this come from? Okay, and I'm like, where did that come from? And is this just like a fear mongering article?
right.
Where was the actual interview? And then you can like try to find the video, and you kind of have
Right.
to advocate for yourself in that way. Otherwise, if you just take like the one news clipping, it can
I
take
agree.
you down a rabbit hole.
Primary source. We preach that all the time. You
Primary
have to find the
source.
primary source.
Well, and
So,
I've come to start doing that when it comes to bills across the board because, especially, I mean, not all of them, some of them are unreasonable to read, but some of them are a handful of pages, which a lot of them are. It's like I've gone and like I'll read articles from multiple sources and I'd be like, all right, let's read the actual bill. And like a lot of times they're pretty easy to read. And it's like, well, what does this actually say here and how do I interpret it? Maybe the articles, even though they might be spinning it one way or another, they can help give you some more insight of what it's saying. But I found that to be very helpful because I think that this is something that I remember. I wrote a college paper about this, like which was when I was in college, like 3 years ago, because I'm super young. But no, it was like 20 years ago or so. I wrote this paper, and it was about a song that Jack Johnson did. And it referenced the fact that basically like how the how news and media across the board they sell on fear because that's the easiest thing. That's why when you watch news at night, you don't see all stories about people adopting puppies because people don't want to see that. People want to see stuff that's that will that's engaging, and these scary things are engaging because it kind of hits that we could say dopamine or whatever. So I mean, and it's not one side or another or anything like that. It's across the board. And so to both of your points, that's why you kind of gotta, if anything, listen to both sides because usually one's kind of pushing one more than the other, and then you can try to
hmm
find in the middle where the truth may lie, and then find the primary source, and then kind of go from there because otherwise it's so easy to get wrapped up in the emotion of a story. And I mean, that's what sells emotion.
right. Isn't that
Yeah.
what they said in Anchorman?
Ron
Wow,
Burgundy
Katy
is a
Perry and
smart man.
Anchorman, we are inspiring. Up next, Michael Scott.
uh,
Well, I think that we're going to this is going to be, um, this next couple weeks because we don't know what's happening with the tariffs or the tariffs are happening. We're going to be hearing a lot more of this. So just advise everybody to stay positive and control what you can control and do not spiral because, you know, I
good
think that,
advice.
I think that it all depends on attitude. A lot of times I can talk to one customer who's like, like business is great this week. We'll handle it. They're confident. And then that raises my confidence. And then I talk to somebody who's doom and gloom and not know what do you think is going to happen? What's your company, and then I get off the phone feeling, oh my God, like if everybody I talked to was like that, then of course I'd feel that way. So, one of my favorite cycle instructors always said, "You're responsible for the energy you bring into this room," and it's 100% true right now while we go through this. And um, that's what people will remember. So
Mhm.
so stay strong, fam.
Nope.
What one thing I tell myself every day is one day at a time.
Yep.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. I'm not worried about April 2nd because I can't control April 2nd. I'm worried
Yep.
about what can I impact today.
Yes. Yeah.
Bingo.
Amen. Amen.
No, 100%.
Oh, signing off.
Katy Perry, I know.
What else is good in the lumber world, Trent?
Well, I mean, kind of off that idea we're talking about, like economic uncertainty and things like that. I mean, you are seeing some big moves still happening, and some people that are also kind of, I don't want to say reacting to it, but maybe hedging their bets, so to speak. Like one thing that came out that was, I thought, a very interesting article that it came out from Unifor, which is a Canadian, let me say, I want to get this completely right. It's the Canadian's largest union in the private sector. So they represent, it says, over 320,000 workers. So they came out and they were about, I'm speaking about the announcement that Prepack, which is a company that manufactures furniture in, I believe it was Delta, BC, is that right? Yeah, Delta, BC. They are moving all their manufacturing to North Carolina. It should be noted that the North Carolina facility was opened in 2021, so they're not building a new one, so they're able to shift it there. And so it's just interesting to see some of these moves already being made, just because it's like, I feel like it's kind of going off of like what we were talking about, where it's people kind of reacting to what's going on now, trying to maybe like hedge their bets a little bit and things like this. And when the facility's already built and made, it's a lot easier to do. Because I mean, one thing that's, I think that some people, when they don't understand the industry, is that they're like, say production of something like that, it's like, okay, we're going to increase production by XYZ. It's like, well, you can't just snap your fingers and make that happen overnight. Like, say you want to build more mills, in the U.S., you can't just build more mills overnight. It takes a long time to do that. But like something like this is something where you can functionally do it pretty quickly, because you're just changing, the production to a different area and then increasing it, which they may have already had that ability before and they were underutilizing this facility. So I thought it was kind of an interesting case study of just kind of how people are reacting to the current news, or
Yeah.
lack
I
of
just,
news, maybe uncertainty.
when people, I'm always a skeptic. So, um, they already moved all the jobs and closed the plant last week, and the tariffs haven't happened yet. Like, were you doing that great anyway? Or, I mean, is this so preemptive? Like, things were great and we just went ahead and moved everything. You just have to wonder what was going on before. And obviously, I have no idea. I've literally never heard of this company. That's just my
Right.
it's just
I
like my
mean,
automatic reaction. But
I just think
you know,
it's important to note that it was private equity. So
yeah,
It was.
there's just
Yep, yep.
decisions being made that are different than other people would make if they weren't private equity.
yeah.
And a quote, "It's another example of equity firms stripping companies for profit with no regard for jobs, community, or frankly, decency."
Yeah.
Unifor Western Regional Director Gavin McGargyle.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
Thought
sad.
that
It's
you came up with that off the top of
170
your head.
jobs.
It's like, that was a really good statement. That was very well where I was. Oh, you're reading this. Okay.
So,
Oh my
there's
goodness.
just what's the motive of the company?
Yep.
Is it for the shareholders? Is it for the owners? It's just, it
Mhm.
And with
changes
private
the,
equity, we all know what that really is. So
yeah.
170
Yes,
jobs,
yes.
though, that's
Even
rough. That's, yeah.
That's what they like. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with, if other companies and that, aren't even private equity based ones, or maybe other ones that do that, how this all plays out. Because I mean, some of it can just be also them using that to kind of, I think what you're almost implying or saying, is it just like a justification for something they're already going to do? Because to your point, it already
Yeah.
happened, this before. So I mean, and it
It
just
just
kind of,
seems
this
really
is why
like
we're doing it.
early. Yeah, it
Yeah,
seems
I
really
agree.
early to be doing that because there's other I mean, it's the same conversation with everything else. There are other markets that still have demand that aren't going to be impacted directly with the US Canada trade war, if that's what we're calling it. But I don't know. It seems like, it's kind of like, how when there's like fires, okay, sorry, I watched too much true crime. There's like major fires that happen or major like disasters like Katrina, and somebody was like waiting to murder their spouse, and they murder their spouse like when these things happen, because like nobody will ever figure it out because there's such a other big story happening. I mean, that literally happens every time there's like a natural disaster. Like people kill their spouses or somebody that they're planning on killing. They kill
Yeah,
them.
when you're distracted, there's a
Yeah,
lot
it's like
you
you're
can do.
distracted with something else. We were already kind of planning on doing this, and now we have somebody to blame. So
Yeah, I do it to my toddlers all the time.
what?
Just kidding. I don't have toddlers anymore, but I did.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Distraction's the name of the game.
That's
This
right.
just took a dark turn.
Yeah, it kind of went real dark. So
All right, Trent. So what else is brewing?
I gotta get some puppy story real quick, apparently. Turn it around.
yeah, please.
um, well, one I think is a fun update because we've kind of been covering this saga as it's been going on is the QXO Beacon saga. So with them, we don't want it. We don't want it. We get stop making unsolicited. Stop it. Well, maybe. And then this week they're like, okay, let's do it. So they entered into an agreement where QXO and Beacon. QXO will acquire Beacon for $124.35 per share. So it's supposed to close by the end of April. So talk about a whirlwind of a story that's just like I think it's been fascinating just to watch and to see how things have changed. And don't quote me on this, but I want to say the fact is that the price that they ended up offering wasn't too far off from what the original one was, months and months ago. So really substantially different. When you're talking about tons of shares, it is substantial. You have every penny, but excuse me, it's interesting just to see how this is all played out. Over I think it started in maybe November, if that sounds about right. No, yeah, November, and then you'd have all these updates, and then here we are, like 4 or 5 months later, roughly, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, we're doing this. So it's a big step forward for QXO, who has, I know, big visions for the future. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out in the short and long run, knowing that what their goal is to kind of like that sounds so too draconian, but like rule the industry, because that's what they kind of want to do. Like, we are going to come in here and just take over, and using these different things like AI. I remember they hired the head AI guy for them as well as QXO, because they really want to kind of use things like that to be able to fundamentally change aspects that they find that could be changed in the industry at higher levels in that regard from what they've said.
This is pretty crazy, QXO. They're a technology company. I didn't realize that.
Yep, and this is, like I said, their first really big acquisition, and they have very, very big ambitions.
Yeah,
Very,
that's
very
a
big
big
ambitions.
acquisition. And the article says they have 600 stores across the US and Canada. That's a huge acquisition, besides like just the dollars.
Yep. They acquire.
Wow.
They're in the news regularly for acquisitions. Like, I don't think there's been a month that's gone by when they haven't acquired a company. I literally drive down the street by me, and I've seen companies that literally were private ones, and then you can see where their old sun shocked old banner used to be, and now it says Beacon on it. So it happens locally, even around here, and got it back to the QXO aspect. This was $11 billion, and said, like, in their about, it says QXO plans to become a tech forward leader in the $800 billion building products industry. And I remember them saying that they want to be basically number one. This is it's just not a small amount already. They're going in hard in the first one, so it's pretty impressive they're doing this. And I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out in the coming years, with what they want to accomplish and that what they've already been able to accomplish. Just in the past 5 months, they turned a nothing story of like, this isn't real, into, now it's happening.
Hey, we don't give
Wow.
investing advice here, but QXO provides technology solutions primarily to clients in the manufacturing, distribution, and service sectors. The company provides consulting and professional services specialized in programming, training, and technical support. As a value-added reseller of business application software, QXO offers solutions for accounting, financial reporting, enterprise resource planning, warehouse management systems, customer relationship management, business intelligence, and other applications. Additionally, they develop their own proprietary software. They plan to become a tech-forward leader in the $800 billion building products distribution industry with the goal of generating outsized shareholder value. The company is targeting tens of billions of dollars of annual revenue in the next decade through accretive acquisitions and organic growth. Their stock price right now, I looked it up because the markets are crashing. It's like $13, but I noticed in July of 2022 it was like $220 per share.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Hopefully nobody bought in during that time because
I think
today.
there was stock. I mean, I was looking at that. It was technically a different company at that point in time. Like, it's gone.
Ah,
It's now different. I mean, Brad Jacobs, who's heading it up now, came in, what, like maybe a year ago or so, give or take. I can let me look at the exact timing, but yeah, that was under a different name. I think it was something Technologies back then. So they've really only been kind of doing what they're doing, and I want to look more into that and see exactly what it was. But I think it's one of those. Like, I'm judging it more based on how it is now. I think the highest they've been in the past few months is up to around 16 or
yeah, it
$17,
didn't look like
and then
anything big has happened. The only
yeah,
spike
but I mean,
on the chart
to your
was
point, I told my
a few
friends
years ago.
about this. I was like, keep an eye on this company because if they are able to accomplish what they want to do, it's going to be interesting to say the least. So, I mean, I think it's something to kind of watch. And I mean, yeah, their stock is one of the ones that I keep on my watch list daily. I mean, I was looking at it this morning just to see how this affected it, if it did affect it, and things of that nature. So,
You heard
yeah,
it here first.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a fun ride over the coming months and years just to see. Because I mean, they got this now. Are they gonna sit back and kind of let that work, or are they gonna be like, "Hey, what's up next?" And I could see them doing
Oh,
the
I'm sure
latter
they're gonna just
for
keep.
sure. I
Yeah,
mean, just kind of they already have stuff in the works. So they're like, "All right, what's the next one we're gonna go after now?" Because I mean, they don't
totally.
have to do a whole lot right off the bat. They can start to gradually take it over the different things they want to implement, or have other people do that, like in the AI sense, because they
Right.
hired an AI officer in November, a chief artificial intelligence officer. So I mean,
Well,
yep,
the key is getting these companies that have the data that they need to like mine from, however long they've been in business, they can get all this data on, the business and how they can automate and use AI to enhance distribution. And I all that information that comes with buying a company like Beacon, obviously it's only going to help propel the technology that we're all thinking, the future of what distribution looks like. Like this is part of
exactly.
that. This is part of building that, and I'm sure it'll affect all sides of our industry.
And it's a good test for, I think, just to see how it pans out for people. It'll be like a good kind of,
Mhm.
like a test for them to be able to do it. So I mean, if they do and they start knocking on the ballpark, I think you're going to see people probably be like, okay, maybe we should. So yeah,
Should have
it's
bought
good.
when it was
I'm excited.
$13.
Yeah,
Dang it.
exactly, exactly. Um, Now, to transition to some news that I was very excited to see this week that I thought was pretty awesome. Technically, I guess you should say at the end of last week, it came out was Sherwood Lumber announcing their leadership transition. So, what they had announced is that Michael Goodman has been named president, and I couldn't be more happy for him. I mean, he's a great guy. I've known him since I got in the industry. I met him at the first show I went to, the first knowledge show. Him and everyone else. I mean, even his dad Andy. They were, I met them both, and I vividly remember meeting both of them. They were both super duper duper nice. It was in Vegas, and I mean, they were very welcoming to me in the industry, and he's always been nothing but kind to everyone there. So I mean, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. So happy for him, and I mean, he's going to kill it. And congratulations to him and Sherwood as a whole.
Yes, congrats to Mikey. We know him as well, and love seeing his face at all the industry events. So big move for
Yeah,
him, and
he's
awesome for
awesome. I was
Sherwood.
actually just looking at my phone to be like, did I text him back? I couldn't remember, but I did. I
Did
have
he
the worst
text you
text here.
back?
No,
Because
Yeah,
he didn't text me back. Rude.
potentially these days he might not have time.
I
Yeah,
know,
I'm gonna
right?
bug him about not texting me back. Real rude. But no, super excited for Mikey and Josh. They're both great guys and just good pillars in the industry. Always happy, always have a smile on their face, always showing up, always wanting to meet people, always wanting to move the industry forward. I feel like Mikey and I are always talking about technology and what's next and how we move our companies forward. And so I think it's really exciting for Sherwood and um, third generation, right?
All right,
I
then, yeah.
believe.
Well, let's
So,
see here. Third or second. They were founded in
yep,
1954.
third generation.
I think
Yeah.
it's their J. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Keeping the name and the family going. So good for them.
Bingo. Exactly. And
Bingo.
then the transition into our the pricing, kind of how things are going on the housing side as well. Madison's lumber price index for March 14th. It was at 577, which was technically down, and technically it's just because it was $4 or 1%, which so not a major move considering the major moves we've seen recently. Which is why I say technically because we've seen a lot of huge upward momentum. So I mean, we've seen like double-digit movement weekly. I want to say over the past few weeks. So not a huge change, all things considered. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and what comes out this week, or I mean, I should say the beginning of next week, and kind of how everything has reacted, since that, because going back to where we started at the beginning. I mean, it's so the prices across the board are kind of, just for everything are being kind of like it's day to day. I mean,
Yeah.
going at
I mean, it's also spring buying right now, so like
yes,
inevitably prices always go up around this time of year. So it's
yep,
interesting to
bingo,
see how much of that is like demand driven, also like all the tariff talk that's happening, how much of it is driving into that. And we're definitely the futures, I think we're upwards of $600. So it'll be we'll be watching what happens in the next couple of weeks, but guaranteed it'll continue to go up.
yep. And then for the mortgage rates, the 30-year is at 6.67, so it's up a little bit from last month. Last week from 6.65%, which has been interesting because it's the mortgage applications decreased 6.2% from a week earlier. So you're kind of seeing not much movement, but they're starting to see people kind of not as many mortgage applications. I thought was kind of interesting.
I swear I read an article today in the Morning Brew that said mortgage or I wasn't applications, it was home buying. That buying has increased. I don't know though. People are tired
Yeah,
of waiting, is what I read.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I think with the last couple weeks of the applications being up, I mean, they were up a lot. It was like 12% each week. So this week it
Yep.
being down 6%, whatever, like that's still not much when it increased 12% weekly for
Nope.
a while. So, I mean, those applications are probably going through, and now the home purchasing is happening with those applications.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for all the news, Trent.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Thank you for your insight as well. It's been fun, and it's fun just to see how all this stuff is playing out over these, it's been interesting few months. So looking forward to,
Yeah.
seeing how things play over the next week as well.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you're going to be at the Mass Timber Conference, Chelsea and I will see you there next week. Very excited. Not you, Trent,
Yep.
but everybody else.
Yes, International Mass Timber Conference is happening next week in Portland. You can still register. It's happening the 25th, 26th, and 27th at the Convention Center. So we hope to see you there. We'll have a beer with you. Okay. All right, I'm going to say bye now because nobody else is talking. Bye.
Okay, bye.
All right.